Sony's PS4 and PS4 Pro have unquestionably been proven winners of the 8th gen console war. This means Metacritic's pool of user reviews tends to be a lot bigger than the Xbox One titles. My name's not important, this is. Number 10, Dark Souls 3. Only a handful of times in the recent history of gaming has a title been so disruptive within its genre, every game that follows is forced to copy it and be called a clone. Dark Souls is one of these games, and Dark Souls 3 is the last in the series. Proverbially difficult. As in, this game is Dark Souls difficult, or I had to say goodbye to my gran for the last time at the hospital. It was like Soul of Cinder tough, man. Dark Souls 3 continues the familiar third-person dodge and stab action theme, the trial and error, fight, die, repeat experience of learning patterns, exploiting weaknesses, and the feeling of joy that accompanies a hard-fought victory. Like Stockholm Syndrome, I imagine there's some sort of psychological condition that covers the fandom surrounding these games. Thanks to it, the Metacritic score for users stands at 8.8. Number 9. Final Fantasy XV. The world of Final Fantasy XV looks to the casual observer quite similar to our own. The same taste in automotive design, superb haircuts, and the same rideable giant chickens. Although that might just be a UK thing. The open world of the game feels realistic and Earth-like until something utterly alien like giant fauna or impossible quirks of geography break the illusion. The fact that this high fantasy style dynastic RPG takes place in a world so similar to our own is at once jarring and refreshing. Critics have mixed feelings about Final Fantasy XV, but fans seem to outweigh the naysayers among gamers, leaving a current Metacritic user rating of 8.7. Number 8, Resident Evil 2. A complete 100% ground up remake in every sense of the word. 2019's version of 1998 original Resident Evil 2 has recognisable characters, locations and events, but is otherwise a thoroughly modern retelling of the story. Action is now over the shoulder instead of viewed from fixed camera locations. There are new locations, new monsters and new mechanics to contend with. Even the voice acting has had an overhaul, being brought up to the standards a modern gamer can expect from a AAA title. Although I'm sure a few of the old RE faithful were disappointed to lose the unintentionally hilarious B-movie Ham. RE2 successfully not only remade a classic that fans of the original will be satisfied with, but made a new classic for gamers who have never experienced the PS1 version. Fans old and new hold this game in high esteem, giving it 8.8 on Metacritic. Number 7, NieR Automata. Thankfully, there's more to this game's 8.9 user score on Metacritic than just a stereotypical anime girl kicking ass. NieR Automata is a varied action RPG that switches styles frequently, from Bayonetta-style fast-paced hack-and-slash third-person, to side-scrolling action on a roller coaster, to bullet hell shooter. The world surrounding the action is beautiful and detailed, and the story is superbly written and directed, presenting the player with a philosophy and a curious empathy for the existential crises of the game's android protagonists. There's a minority of reviewers out there who think that this is not only one of the greatest games of all time, but also a piece of genuine art. I can't help but find the teen boy wet dream design choices undermine that claim a little. Number 6, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix. It feels like every list I do lately has some game with a title I struggle to vocalise. Here goes nothing. Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix is actually 2 games, nope, it's 4 games. This is a bundle of PS4 remakes of the PS3 remasters of the PS2 original Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2, which also contain ports of Chain of Memories and Birth by Sleep. At this stage I'm just going to interrupt myself. I don't know what I just said, I haven't a clue, I've never played these games and I probably never will. Am I alone in thinking there's something a little bit seedy about creating a child-friendly series of games and then repackaging and reselling the same slightly upgraded content across platforms to fans who are potentially not old enough to know better? Let me know how wrong I am in the comments. Anyway, whatever my personal feelings about the series, the fans over at Metacritic scored it as 8.9, so obviously I'm wrong. Number 5, Final Fantasy IX. First released in 2000 for the PS1, Final Fantasy IX is a bit more of a traditional oldie-worldy fantasy epic in the style of the series' earlier titles than Final Fantasies 7 or 8. As such, it is many fans' favourite game of the era. 2017's 8th gen remaster of Final Fantasy IX is a port of the 2015 PC version, which, graphically at least, is kind of like an HD emulator version. The pre-rendered background elements are simply upscaled from the PS1 originals, and the rendered 3D objects, cutscenes and text are the only parts of the game that benefit from higher resolutions. This may be disappointing for some fans, especially given the kind of loving care and attention remakes and remasters of other games in the series have received, but that wasn't reflected in the Metacritic score. Fans gave Final Fantasy IX 8.9 on Metacritic. Number 4. Bloodborne. When talking about From Software games, a few words come to mind. Difficult, dark, challenging, and rewarding all seem relevant, and this remains true of their alt-Victorian follow-up to Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. Inspired by Lovecraft and Bram Stoker, the story takes the player through the rundown streets of the plague-ridden city of Yharnam in search of the cause of the blood-borne disease that turns its victims into beasts. The combat system has been changed dramatically from previous games, not least of all by the removal of shields and magic. Experienced players of the Souls series will have to acclimate themselves to this new style of gameplay, but once done, players should expect a more streamlined combat experience. Metacritic users have given Bloodborne a 9.0. Number 3. The Last of Us Remastered. Naughty Dog's The Last of Us had already scored well with fans and reviewers on its initial release for PS3 back in 2013. The remastered release the following year for PS4 was only what one might expect from a remaster, the same game remade to take advantage of the more powerful hardware and new controller input of the 8th generation console. In visual terms, this means a higher resolution image, more detailed textures and models, and improved lighting. The story remains the same. After the fall of humanity in the wake of a deadly fungal infection, the protagonist Joel must escort the only known immune individual, a young girl named Ellie, through zombie-infested America. Fans reacted positively to the remaster, earning it a score of 9.1 on Metacritic. Number 2. God of War. Sony's 2018 entry into the long-running PS exclusive saga is a major thematic shift from previous games, moving the action north from ancient Greece to Nordic Midgard. Protagonist Kratos has seemingly mellowed since satisfying his vengeance against the Greek pantheon and retired to Midgard to raise his beard, and his son Atreus after the death of Kratos' second wife. The game follows Kratos, literally, the camera fixes over the shoulder without cuts for the entire game, and son as they quest to scatter Mrs. Kratos' ashes. As well as the tonal shift, the gameplay differs radically from previous games. Kratos has obviously been watching Thor movies and now has an axe which returns when summoned. He is also aided by his son Atreus, a mostly AI-controlled companion whose character, and Kratos' relationship to him, develops throughout the course of the game. God of War was a well-received reboot and earned a score of 9.1 with users on Metacritic. Number 1. The Witcher 3. Polish studio CD Projekt Red's third and most ambitious title in the fantasy RPG saga released in 2015, and still has reviewers and fans comparing other games to it unfavourably. Rarely is a game labelled masterpiece by both the media and the public, but Witcher 3 has earned this label. The game is enormous, rich, beautiful and engaging. Like so many RPGs, the game lets you play how you want, but like so few, its morality is flexible. There's no Paragon or Renegade system like in Mass Effect. The morally right decision isn't always clearly signposted. Standard RPG quest tropes do not necessarily apply here. As of summer 2019, Witcher 3 remains the fans' favourite PS4 game ever made, with a massive 9.2 on Metacritic. That's my list. How many of these do you own? Did the appearance of any entry shock you to your very foundations? Check out my other top 10 list videos below, and while you're down there, kindly do the usual YouTube things if you feel so inclined, and I'll see you next time.